Welcome back
Yes.
to another episode.
Of Marriage is for Grown Folks.
If you are, if this is your first time watching, we want to
Mhm.
welcome you.
Welcome,
We
welcome.
always say that we do not have all the answers, but we want to share our experiences
Yeah.
to help cultivate
hmm
relationships that are existing. Those
Absolutely.
of you who are transitioning out of a relationship, or
hmm
those of you who are preparing to enter into a romantic
Right.
relationship, we hope that all of these episodes can produce conversation,
Yeah.
insight,
Yes.
and anything else I'm missing? Conversation, insight,
I would say illumination.
illumination.
Yeah.
So we believe that relationships, they are needed,
hmm
both platonic and romantic, and
Absolutely.
we just want to do our part with all of the head bumps that we've had down through these. We got to say it for this episode, every episode, 17 years
17 years.
of being in the gap.
Almost 18.
Almost 18.
18 in June. So.
I was about to say something real crazy out the wild, but
Oh
I'm
my
trying to be
goodness.
I'm trying to be right tonight. So thank you for every person who has subscribed. If you're watching this,
Yes.
if you've watched more than 3 episodes, I think you like us. That means you need to hit the subscribe button.
Like and subscribe,
You need
please,
to
and thank you.
subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. So we're going to do a quick episode tonight. We're going to provide some homework for you. Last episode we had a class to get to, so we had to cut it short. But we started crashing. You kind of was
Oh, don't feel
yeah.
for me.
So we're going to provide some homework tonight. We're going to call this episode Start Over.
Yes.
I need to tag the Instagram page of this guy who is a workout trainer. He's
Uh-huh.
based out of Dallas. I forget his name. We'll tag him
Uh-huh.
in the show notes. But he's a trainer for a predominant group of Black women who are
Uh-huh.
all women. So they're working out, they're doing squats, they're on the press machine, and if he does not like the form that they're using on their set, he'll tell them start over. So all through his reels on his IG page, he's telling these young ladies, I don't like it. It ain't right.
Start
Start
over.
over.
That's right.
So we're going to talk tonight about starting over. Would
Okay.
you describe what it looks like for a relationship, for a couple that has been together double digits, single digits?
hmm
If the paint ain't dry on the walls yet,
Yeah.
what does starting over mean?
So I'll use the analogy you were already using with gym.
All right.
If your form is off, you're not going to get the results that you want, which means that in order to get the results that you want, sometimes it's necessary to start over.
Okay. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Give an example of why a relationship, a live example, either us or a
hmm
couple we've sat with, on an instance where where a couple would have to start over.
Poor communication.
How many times would they might have to start over? The communication is poor.
Multiple times. And when I say poor communication, like I came to the relationship thinking like if I really wanted you to hear me, I needed to raise my voice. But really that just was like, oh, you disrespectful and
Oh,
I'm not about to listen to you.
come on now.
So the result that I wanted was never produced. And I had to say, okay, well, wait, he
Yeah,
keep telling me that's disrespectful to
yeah.
him. So why would I continue to do that and expect him to then hear me?
Start
So
over.
let me start over.
Start over.
So
All right.
then I started talking to you completely different, and you was looking like, "Oh, okay, well I gotta listen now, huh? Because she's talking the way I."
Come on now. Start over. I
Yes.
think that when I kind of thought about this, processed it,
hmm
did my little homework on it. And what was so amazing when I found this Instagram page, probably for about 5 months, I
Uh-huh.
had been studying this out and looking
Yeah.
into this, both in the religious sector, but also relationships,
Uh-huh.
the necessity of what you just said
Yeah.
of why we need to start over.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, if you learn wrong,
Right.
it is easier to fix something
Yeah.
when there's a blank
Slate.
slate in
Yeah.
that area.
hmm
But when you've learned wrong, it takes longer to undo something that has
Right.
already been taught in.
That's right.
So you got to teach it out, then
Right.
put new information. So it's
Every
easier.
house cannot just be remodeled.
I
Some
can
have to be
buddy. You got to
demolished
just
and
vet it.
rebuilt.
I
Yeah.
think it was one of the black famous author. I wish I had this name. He said it's easier to repair. We'll edit it out. But anyway, so it is easier to learn it when there's not poor information already
Right.
there
Yeah.
versus having to relearn it. And so
You
that
know
is
why though?
why.
Because when you learn something inaccurate, you believe the lie. So now your partner has to convince you that it's a lie so that you'll abandon that train of thought to then replace it with a new train of thought.
So if you had to guess on this good episode right here on
Mhm.
Start Over, how many times do you think you have had to start over just as a
Ooh,
woman
more times than I can count.
in your marriage?
More times than
Come
I
on,
can
get
count.
just shout out. Maybe somebody's watching this
Woo!
and they may not
17 years, how many times have I had to restart
just
something?
with you as an adult
That's what I'm
woman in a
saying. With
marriage.
me as an adult woman, I feel like I'm always looking at why do I do what I do and what is it producing. So if it's not producing what I wanted it to produce, then that means I have to go back to the drawing board and say, let me start over in this area. Because I thought if I took this approach, it would fix it.
Yeah.
And it's not. Or I thought if I took this approach, this would be the response, but it's not.
Yeah.
So let me do it a different way. Let me be willing to look at my piece of it and be willing to adjust and compromise in those areas. And it's not even just romantically, like even in my platonic friendships, I'm always looking at that to say,
Yeah.
okay, wait, what should I be doing more? Do I need to back up some? Do I need to give them more space? Do I need to be more involved? Do I need to check in more?
I think that not only can there be like a catastrophic event in the relationship
Mm-hmm.
where that relationship might need to start over,
Yeah.
but you are not the same person that you
Right.
were
Change it.
5 years ago.
That's right. That's right.
Just last night, just yesterday before you left the house, you had
Don't do
natural
it.
hair,
Don't do
and then
it.
she
And
comes
I
home.
still have natural hair. It's just
But
braid it
just
up
braid
in
it up.
these
So
braids.
it has start over. So um, there are changes that you as a human
Mm-hmm.
will go through. There are evolutions.
Yeah.
There are many of them that will occur
Yeah.
in your life. There are things that will happen in your life that as an individual that
Mm-hmm.
are outside of you
Right.
that affect you,
Yeah.
that might cause you to look at life, yourself, your partner, society,
Mm-hmm.
culture, religion, God, your children differently, and might lend opportunity
Right.
to start over in an area.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get into these questions, I also think that it is important that if you, as the individual in your relationship, are
Right.
starting over in an area,
Yeah.
that you should at least inform the individual that you're in relationship with. Hey, I
Right.
know I believe this. I know
Mm-hmm.
I've thought this,
Mm-hmm.
but because of this new information,
Yes.
because
Good
of this
advice.
insight,
Mm-hmm.
because of illumination,
Yeah.
things that I used to do.
I don't do no more.
Come on,
That is
Tremaine
true.
Hawkins.
That is true. I think the biggest mistake that we make as individuals in a relationship is making a conscious decision to do something different and not informing our spouse or our mate or our friend, because then we're expecting them to acknowledge change behavior and they don't even know to look for it.
Oh, I thought I forgot my mic.
I was
That's
just
my
saying.
spot. So we're gonna give you some questions.
Yes, it's homework time,
Let me
y'all.
give you an example before we get to the homework. Let's say if a parent passes away.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say if a significant relationship dissolves.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say if something traumatic occurs,
Mm-hmm.
maybe something you've buried resurfaces, or like you said, an assessment
Mm-hmm.
of how you present or show up. The therapist say show up in
Right.
the relationship,
Right.
and you assess that I'm not getting the results. So
Mm-hmm.
there can be a multiplicity of reasons why the individual or that relationship
Mm-hmm.
might need to start over. If
Right.
there is an affair, if there's a breach of trust,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems like that relationship can't get past whatever has happened, it
Mm-hmm.
might be invitation, which is so beautiful
Right.
for the relationship to start over.
Right.
So there are some questions. Well, this can be part two, but the holistic psychologist came up with 4 types of questions that help build emotional intimacy. And we
Mm-hmm.
had to do a part two for the holistic psychologist because
Yeah.
she's just in her bag, y'all. So make sure you follow her page from the show notes in the description. So there are 4 types of questions that help build emotional intimacy. The next episode, we're going to answer these questions.
Yes.
So we want you to practice these questions with the person that you're in relationship with, whether you're booed up with them or whether that toaster, whether you're your roommate.
What'd you say, Kansas?
Oh wow.
It's okay.
We went to New York and I'm checking out of the hotel and she said, okay, check out this time. I said, what's time to check out? What time is the checkout time? She says 2 p.m. So I said, well, let's get late checkout. She said, okay, we can do that. The late checkout is 4 p.m. I said, okay. She said, where are y'all from? I said, what you mean? Where are we from? We in Manhattan, New York. So I said, how do I love accents? So she says, I could tell that you aren't from New York by your accent. And I said, I think I speak like a reporter. I think I got some Tulsa, some Oklahoma.
Kansas is what you have. You're from Kansas.
She says, you sound like a bale of hay when you talk. I said, I'm serious. I said, a bale of hay. She said, when you pronounced the word okay, I knew you wasn't from around here. I said, how did I? She said, okay, okay. Anywho, so we'll answer
Don't
these
let
questions.
your feelings be hurt.
Yeah, I was like, I thought I speak like,
They sound different to us. It's the same thing.
but I
Two
thought that I
different
had a
ways.
standard.
Because you're from this
But I
area.
sound like the people on TV, on the newscasters.
Those are your ears. See, you proving
Why you
why
need to
some
start
people
over?
need to start over.
Okay, so I need to go to speech class. Okay.
Because just because you hear it that way, don't mean everybody else hear it the same.
She said a bale of hay. Do you know how country? It don't
That's
get no more country than
still
that.
your perception.
She chose that,
But that might have been the only country depiction she knew. What you wanted to say? You sound like a pair of cowboy boots, a horse, a cow, a
you
chicken.
just sound like you're not from here. I really, anyway, but I'm glad that I have an accent, but I wish it wasn't an Oklahoma accent. I wanted New Orleans.
You're from Kansas.
Or a
you didn't come
Memphis.
here till you were an adult. That's Kansas, baby.
Okay, so here are the 4 types of questions. Feeling questions.
Feels.
Interest questions. Future questions and play questions. Right. We kind of dabbled in this last week.
We talked about play a little bit and how important it is. So just remember, adults can play, and it's a very vital part of our adulthood.
Got to have it. So these questions, they build, she says, emotional intimacy. And one of the things that we believe can get lost in just muscle memory and just doing the same thing, just the mundane routine
can rob you of emotional and physical intimacy, even mental intimacy, because our evening conversations are important. It's like, oh, we are adults.
And these children, Lord, if y'all got small children, medium-sized children, they don't mean no harm, but they will suck the life out of your.
They're a huge investment.
Okay.
They are a huge investment.
I feel compassion coming from you.
That is worth it. But you have to remember what spark you guys had that created the relationship that produced them in the first place.
Don't let your children steal your shine with your significant other. Don't let your children take off, because they don't mean no. They'll just do it and they'll just keep taking. Yeah. So you have to create some time for you and the person that you were with before them, or that came alongside after you, so we are blended families. And so just don't let the little ones, Lord Jesus, just don't let the little ones take over the ship, because there are a lot of relationships that have, I don't want to say demised, but they have suffered
if your
because of the lack of
in
balance.
Your relationship is only your children. When your children are no longer there, you do not have a relationship. That's what he's saying in summary.
Come on, so I had a friend in high school that he told me and Brandon that his parents sat him down. This is the night before. It reminds me of that scene from Bad Boys, Good Boys. He said, his parents told him, as soon as you walk across the stage, me and your mother are divorcing. We're only staying together just to give you some normalcy. That boy cried in his car on the way to taking us to school. And I said, you got to cheer up. My parents been divorced. Like, it's life on the other side. Like, you will live and not die. I didn't tell him that, but my dad ain't been in my life. Okay. Feeling questions, interest questions, future questions, play questions. So, let me make sure I didn't miss none of the last one. So, recreating or creating. Why are you looking at me like that? Emotional intimacy. Read, Brittany, the feeling questions that you can ask your partner.
All right, guys, y'all ready? Number 1. When's the last time you felt excited or inspired? I love that question, because I feel like sometimes we don't really even pay attention to our emotions like we should as adults, because we're trying to feel and think about everybody else.
Can I say this with that?
Of course.
relearning that person that you're in relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you've been with them for however long you've been with them, even
Mm-hmm.
though you've seen their dirty draws, clean draws, you've seen them at their best, their worst.
Mm-hmm.
When it has gotten stale and it is time to start over based on whatever you have assessed, it is so important
Mm-hmm.
to take the time to not assume that I just know you,
Right.
to ask and to investigate. So these
Right.
are the investigative questions.
Because the 21-year-old version of me is not the same version of me today. So you got to relearn.
What you said.
Just saying. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Number 2. When's the last time you heard, or understood? So when is the last time you felt like in a conversation that person was really engaging and taking time to listen to you?
Y'all better do these questions.
Where do you feel most at peace? Oh, I love that question. For me, it's at home. I'd be like, oh, I made it home.
If I could just make it.
When do you feel most connected to me? I like that question too.
Mm-hmm.
Because we may assume that a person feels most connected to us in a
Yeah.
situation, and it may not be that at all. So that is good.
Give the real, and these questions, don't rush through them. You might not get through all of them in one setting, but take time. Maybe let one person go one night and let the other person go the other night.
I wouldn't even try to do all of these at once.
Yeah.
Just give them time to breathe and open up and turn into a natural, organic conversation.
These are interest questions. There's 4 of them. She says interest questions to ask. Number 1, what's something that you've really interested in right now? What's something that you're really interested in right now? The second one is, what's the biggest lesson you've learned this past year? Even if you think you know the answer, ask it anyway.
That's
you
right.
might be surprised. Number 3, what have you recently learned about yourself? And then the 4th one in the area of interest is, what do you remember loving to do as a child? We mentioned this last week. So those are the interest questions.
Future questions. Y'all ready? What's something you're working towards now? So, like, what's a goal? But be specific, because I feel like we can be so vague.
Yeah.
So, give your partner some insight so they know how they can support you and come alongside you. What area of your life do you think will look most different in 5 years? Ooh, it is. We will have a 20-year-old in 5 years and an 18-year-old. So a lot for us is going to look different in 5 years.
If I had pearls on, I'd grab them.
I know, it's crazy. What's something you want more of in your life?
I could just hear some couple getting petty. Like, this is really an opportunity to smoke it out. Don't do it. Don't fall for the bait.
Don't be petty. Just be open and vulnerable. Trust me on it. What's something you want less of in your life? I think that's a good one too, because we don't ask each other that.
Want less of. Okay, play questions to ask. Number 1, when do you remember laughing so hard you cried? Ooh, I have a story.
Every day,
Ooh, I have a story. We don't have time.
We don't have time.
I got a story.
Good
ahead, question. No. Because I gotta set it up, because I can't just cook, because they can be like, what? What's something new you want to do and try together? I love, this is probably top 3 questions in this whole episode. What's something new you want us to try and do together? That's nice. Number 3, what would you spend the day doing if you had no other plans or obligations?
Sit on the beach.
Come on. Blue water?
Mm-hmm. See through. Gotta be.
Right. And then the last one, what new hobby do you want to try but don't know where to start?
That's good. Because it's asking for help. For the people who struggle to ask for help, they asking for help.
And to that point, I think that with our careers and trying to get the bag and what's happening economically, it can really be lost in survival.
Yeah.
And I think that we are not the full version of who we are, nor can we bring value to the utmost in our relationships if we don't engage in hobbies.
Right.
If everything that we're doing is necessity-based, survival-based, fear-based,
right.
Getting money-based.
Yeah.
So I read one article that was talking about hobbies not being something that is tied to getting money, a second income.
Yeah.
So just doing something that you enjoy doing without the pressure of producing a certain amount by a certain time and getting it out, but just, I enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
So I know adults who color, paint, play in the dirt, wash their car, puzzles, exercise, games, cigar lounge, go to the gun range. A myriad of things that are a hobby to men and women. I make bracelets. I like making little beads and bracelets. That's one of my low key hobbies. You understand? So find some hobbies that you can engage in that when you that don't have to do with having a lot of money, so that the excuse is not there. Well, it's not in the budget now. Find something that you can do that
there are a
have
lot
a
of
budget
free
to it.
things that you can do.
Yeah,
That are still fun.
See.
Absolutely.
So, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up? Anything we missed?
No, I think that was good, especially because we're gonna come back and talk about these questions. We're gonna give y'all the answers. Well, our answers.
Yeah. You ready to ask them? You answer them?
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
right. So starting over, let me also say this.
Mm-hmm.
My brain is too young to be forgetting stuff. I think that starting over is important, and it is not always seen as negative, to see it as something positive. And this is the thing about starting over. If it is easier to start over when there's not a lot built on top,
right?
When you haven't done it a long time,
right?
So get in the habit of being open to doing it a different way. If it ain't, the young people say, if it ain't serving,
okay,
if it ain't giving.
This is what I would say, right? Say you build a brand new house, there's still maintenance that has to be done to maintain it.
Yeah.
There are things that you're going to remodel and change along the way to make it your home. The relationship is the same way. So as long as you lay a solid foundation and it has good bones, starting over doesn't mean like a bad thing. It doesn't have to be a negative. It can just be, you know what? This is really not working for us. And I want our relationship to thrive.
In this area.
Yeah. And it's not saying throw the relationship away. Like you said, this area.
Yeah.
In this area, I feel like we could communicate better. In this area, I feel like we could show up for each other better. In this area, I feel like I could support you better.
Yeah. And there's a lot of miscommunication that can go into the foundation as to the reason why a start over or a reset is important, because things happen.
That's right.
Miscommunication in the last episode, we dealt with miscommunication being in the foundation and festering into a bigger problem than what it is. So starting over helps us to relearn and to investigate as if I don't know you. Sometimes she'll tell me something and I forget. And she'll give me the answer, and I say, "If that's your real, is that's your real?" If I find out something new about her,
your name really John?
I've been married to you. Like when she said skate last, it's about skate, man.
But if you remember, when we were younger, we used to go roller skating every Sunday.
I always crave. I've been craving here recently. Skating rink nachos.
Yeah.
I want that cheese from.
And see, the kids asked too, like a week ago. So we need to go on a family skate night. It's coming up, y'all.
So I hope something that I said, I hope that something that she said really benefits. We want to hear your feedback on these questions. I wish we
comment, DM, let us know some of your feedback and your answers on this. We're intrigued.
I want to know how these questions are going. So don't be afraid to start over. Don't be afraid to, and I think that as generations progress, it kind of seems like the older generations are a little bit more rigid with starting over. This is the reason why. This is the last one. You cut the camera off. This is the reason why with us. I guess all people. This is the reason why people don't want to bring their boo to Thanksgiving dinner. This is the reason why you don't bring that person that you knocking boots with to meet your family. For this fact is, I don't know if I'm gonna keep this joker. So I don't want to have to keep reintroducing y'all to somebody new. I would rather go through my preliminary process with this individual so that when I present them to the family, I don't have to keep bringing somebody new every year.
Okay. That could be a whole episode.
That could be a whole episode.
I ain't even gonna get started. I ain't gonna hop on the mic.
So whoever I show y'all, so that's why some of y'all are dating somebody. You kind of seeing somebody, but they face is covered up. You got their face blurred out, or you at the restaurant, you only showing a picture of you. You're not showing a picture of them. And he's sitting on the he take my picture, and he's okay. I ain't gonna do it.
Some of it is just commitment issues in general. But
start off.
Right.
So marriage is for
grown folk.
We'll see y'all next time.
Bye.